Hello people, today I'd like to talk about amnesia, isolation and retraumatisation. Isolation is a big part of amnesia. A byproduct of amnesia is the effect, because this sort of trauma is built to isolate, and also the target will want to isolate to refer back to self a lot, having had the environment infected and creating an internal argument around what is true and what is okay to feel. So isolation becomes a bit of a crutch, firstly to hide the damage that can't be spoken about, but secondly to assuage any more re-traumatisation in a semi-conscious state, as the body and the mind try to resolve the injunction that's been set in place. And the isolation is very important because a constant exposure is extremely tiring to a person who's trying already to resume consciousness. To have to regulate oneself around people consistently is exhausting, and also will create quirks of personality to assuage the potential for people to see the damage. And this is all quite subconscious a lot too, though there is a discomfort that comes with it that still the mind won't really attach to through the pain that can't be processed. I found I got quite used to isolation early on. I know from my feeling memory that I wasn't really engaged much as a baby, or at least not engaged correctly, and often left isolated. So I think I learnt pretty early in my environment that isolation was okay. It was actually preferable. But that's my excuse, and it's not the same for everyone. Isolation's a retreat from fawning, generally, with amnesia. As one can't be one's true self, one will fawn to other people for acceptance and pull oneself further away from one's integrity in an attempt to recreate the healthy parental engagement that was never there through the environment. Yeah, so isolation is a protection mechanism from one being exposed, or actually two ways of being exposed. One through re-traumatisation in the situations where it was created, and another one in the environment where one wants to have a different experience and not coagulate the memories of the personal experience and environmental experience as well. Re-traumatisation often comes through the fawning mechanism of reintegrate or attempt to reintegrate, and the coping mechanism of self-explanation and self-excusing being both trauma responses, and also re-entering environments that are self-sustaining and very hard to shift energetically is a form of re-traumatisation, and many will have to go through that, and it can go two ways. It can either annul the feelings further by a sense of futility, or the target can react in rejection of this energy or experience, which will usually be denigrated and used against them as a form of reactive abuse, having had the environment set for said reaction in the first place. In fact, it was waited for as proof of the efficacy of the retraumatisation. Yes, for me, I spent a lot of time alone with my animals, which was also a form of re-traumatisation in the end, as things were taken away from me, things that I loved dearly were put down and set free, or otherwise had demises. So it became a bit of a each way bet with the animal relationships too, because it became a potential form of re-traumatisation, and through this we see the disintegration of the capacity to love by fear of that which may provide being taken away, or that which being accepted as a providor not being so at all in humanity. Animals are pretty trustworthy generally, and you actually believe what an animal does. You don't question it, because that's what the animal is, that's what they do. People are very different animals. So yeah, re-traumatisation. Re-traumatisation for me was very early, and I was pretty aware that I didn't want to live at about 3 years old, and I've had to take responsibility for this as an adult, because this is part of my healing, in knowing exactly where I was and how desperate the situation was. But I knew that there was only two ways out of that situation at that point, with the intelligence that I had then, which was either suffer or die. And I did have a little inkling a while ago that my child mind, when I decided to instigate the trouble with my father as a baby, that I was actually asking him to opt me out, so that there was a possibility that he might get picked up for finally having done the wrong thing and it not being avoidable. It's a hard truth to come to, and I only came to that one a little while ago, and it is very true, because I did spend a lot of time in this re-traumatisation situation thinking, I don't know how much I can do this without it really damaging me. And subliminally I knew that it was a slow kill, and that might instigate in me the primal response of there's only one other answer. You kill me. And these dark thoughts went through me, without a doubt. So yeah, more re-traumatisation. Going to boarding school was a added insult of re-traumatisation, having been and none of this is a whinge, I'm talking about mechanism here, theirs and mine. It was re-traumatisation, having achieved my greatest accolade as far as I was concerned, and something that had a future for me, to be suddenly jailed in a short span of time after that for disciplinary reasons, was almost like being shot out of the pan and into the fire, as far as a sense of attachment or belonging went. So the purposeful re-traumatisation was to spurn me and shame me and send me away, just close enough so I could get home pretty easily, but I wasn't allowed to, and I didn't have a home anyway, so it was like an orphanage. And I realised that that's exactly how my very early childhood felt like, so it was like stage 2. Um, So then become more isolated, because I can't answer all these things about what's going on with me, and I can't really talk about how bad they are because I'll be rejected, and people don't like people who whinge. And by the time I got to 18 or 17, I was out of boarding school. I only did a couple of years in boarding school, but 17, and I'd got caught up in one of my mother and father's arguments about their frolicking. Apparently the old man had been caught with a minister, a parliamentarian who was ugly as... But anyway, that was my fault, of course. That was all my fault, and I decided to leave the school that I was at that point. My friends weren't very happy with me, and none of them actually turned and asked if I was alright. It was more like, oh, you just bailed out on us, and I thought, well, that's probably why I'm isolating. Yes, in the crop dusting incident, which was another, watching my father betray me on many levels, and watching how I centered myself, the rage and the grief and the sadness and the anguish of being worthless in the eyes of the man who makes me sign contracts, and allows me to get poisoned without any sort of response from a supposedly leading lawyer of Australia, made me a little suspicious. So yes, back into isolation again, and then re-traumatised in a relationship where I realised that I don't really understand what relationship is. I have the love, but I don't have any of the real mechanics of decorum, because I was trained by people who only pretended to have it. So yeah, a couple of relationships, very, very traumatising, in recognising that I was locked into a program of drawing these type of people now, these type of women and men. So to have all these experiences of waking up in the nightmare with the old mechanisms going off, and the consciousness disappearing, and the manipulations that seem so consistent throughout many stories of mind and of emotion. But the biggest re-traumatisation of all, there's another re-traumatisation, that was an interesting one. I put myself in hospital for depression for 7 weeks when I was about 28 or something. It was bad. I got 7 weeks of support in there. It wasn't a lot, but it was more than I'd had. And anyway, I'm getting on with my stuff in there, and all of a sudden, my parents had come to visit me. We've got reporters in there. My healing situations now become their stage. It becomes a national broadcast, whereupon me rejoining society, I was consistently asked by people, why did your parents do that? Well, why did my parents do a lot of things? All I know is that I saw a bit more of the mechanism there of jealousy, envy, of a broken young man trying to help himself, and people stealing the stage. I didn't want the stage, I just wanted to heal. But once again it was made a narrative, which was very shaming on a child to parent level. And also very indicative of their capacity to parent and their foresight in how they'd be appreciated in their hanging out their dirty laundry, while not so much as mentioning anything about the children other than the fact that the father didn't really spend the time to look after them and the mother did, and I'm looking going, what? This is a stitch up, this is a humiliation ritual, and we've got a hero and we've got a victim, and the victim's still going to look great because everybody loves him. So this is the hypocrisy, social nuance, narrative bullshit. The smoke screen that is totally inverted, that's once again just totally loaded for their own benefit, knowing that no one else exists in their world but them, even for each other. It's just a contract, it's an agreement, it's a, yeah. So that was pretty traumatizing. Seeing my parents on national television basically say that they stayed together while hating each other, and that my father couldn't show any emotion, which was absolute bullshit. He just couldn't show positive ones. And my mother was coming out looking like the poor victim, like she always does, having been the perpetrator and the homekeeper of very, very sick children. Yes, mother, that was you. So yes, my next re-traumatisation was the assistance of my mother and father in breaking me after I'd made this successful business after leaving hospital. 6 years of building a landscaping business and building a house, which I'd never done before, or renovating a house, which came up really nicely, and I was starting to get on top again, and sure enough, the bullshit comes down, and between a bad relationship and my parents' involvement, I finally broke again, knowing that I'd been living an illusion that any of these people were in any way speaking love over me or wanting the best for me. That's when I started to break, and that's also concurrently when I sold the house, threw the business away, and moved back up the country to isolate, or to congregate with alcohol, so that maybe I could get back to a place where I was at least having fun socially, which worked to minimal degree. I met my lovely ex-wife at this place, and that was my next exercise in re-traumatisation, because I was already quite amnesic from having been betrayed so deeply, and having had to give up or lose what I'd grown once again, which seemed to be a theme in my life. All the things I loved being taken away. And then a long-winded fight with my father, with his last words being, I'll pay you the money that I owe you if you'll get out of my fucking life. And I thought, well, didn't I always feel that one? Because the way he trained me was to forget about it, and to absorb this wrath for myself, for the want not to punch his head in, to knock him out. So all of that anguish that they'd created in me all my life was going recirculating through me to save them. from what they'd done to me and how they covered it with abuse and sabotage and smear campaigns and organising public situations that were showing a lot of connection. Anyway, so I moved up the country to heal with my girlfriend at that point. And she was probably not the best looking woman at all. But I thought I'd rather go for nice than pretty, and it turns out that I got neither. This thing was very proficient in the game of narcissism, and funnily enough, I ended up in a generationally ancestral, pedophilic, incestuous family again. There I was with her, asking her how much do you have to do with your family, and she said, yeah, not much. And she told me about all of her childhood problems, obesity and alcoholism, a pack of cigarettes a day, probably getting sexed a lot by men while she was paralytic because she was fat and ugly. And well, I know that's the truth anyway, because she had absolutely no self-love, and she feigned the self-love and did all that sort of stuff, and feigned looking after me, and in my weakness, as I was very much needing to be self-absorbed at that point, because I was lost inside myself, thinking that I had someone by my side who cared, who was actually just a termite, a parasite. And so as I was making dreams, my luck was going down, my health was going down. She seemed to be getting better. Right at the point I was thinking about leaving her, she got this thing called Ross River fever, where she laid in bed for a year, and of course I was too dutiful to tell her to go home to her parents at that point. So there's me, self-abnegating again, self-betraying, being the good slave as I've been taught to be. There's another retraumatisation, and there was never any evidence of this illness. They're good, I'm telling you. They play the long game. So yeah, go into having children and start another business and start building a house and start feeling these sexual responses in me around the children, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm innocent, so I'm not worried about that, but where is it coming from? And the funny thing was that while I, again, was inspecting my trauma, it was happening in front of me, and I wasn't able to pick it up, because as it was happening in front of me, I was re-traumatizing, and I was becoming amnesic again, having never really understood what I'd been through. And I started seeing some signs in my children, constipation, change in behaviour, bedwetting, all this sort of stuff, and I went to try and get as much help as I could and found there was none. People were telling me to bring evidence, and I find that very hard to justify without getting very personal with my children. It's a professional job, and it was made very difficult for me too, because there was already a smear campaign out on me with children involved in therapy that I wasn't aware of. I got to that place to get my children some therapy and was basically energetically gunned down through the smear campaign that had gone through that place. I had to speak to the manager upon that situation and straighten them out, in the understanding that any information that was taken could and would be used as a subpoena in evidence for this case. So best they hold on to that. What else did I have? I had my house invaded by my ex-wife and strangers, friends of hers. I'd chase people off my property. I had my house invaded while I was going to pick up my son. I had business documents stolen, and that prevented me moving forward in my business. I was smear campaigned by a whole town in projection of what she'd done, with them believing it was me. So I spent a good 5 years facing off with those inbreds up there, and they are mainly. There's a lot of activity up there. Good old Gimpy. She's a wild old town, that one. What's unseen. And that's why she stays there. It's a good place for her. Anyway, yes, much bad luck and 10 years very hard work and PTSD increasing, and watching my children fall to pieces to the point where I'm watching them pull each other's hair out like children I've never seen before, and me having to very sternly educate them in correct behaviour while not being a tyrant, while understanding what was going on at home, while not being able to speak about it, and not being able to prevent it, while being accused of being the perpetrator of her victimhood. Yes, so very re-traumatising, but had I not experienced that, I wouldn't have become aware of my own abuse as a child, because it was that deeply locked in that I had to go through watching my children lose consciousness to know how it happened to me, and watching this lady change clocks and tell lies, and to see their faces, to know what's happening in their minds as I've already felt it before, and to feel it happening in my mind at the same time as theirs, with an incapacity to make right judgment because I'm in amnesia, and am I right, am I wrong, is this all a dream, because if it's not, it's a nightmare and it's real. And to watch my children slowly disappear, psychologically and spiritually, to see their light go out, and to see them lose trust in me through my inability to help them on a spiritual level, because their mother was seemingly more powerful than me. And children will always run to the power, and this is part of Stockholm Syndrome, because you'll get killed with the weak one, and you'll only live a life of death with the strong one, because they'll give you life and nothing more. It'll be a life sentence to work yourself out, or not. And I've already seen casualties in my generation regarding this, so I do know how it ends for some. And that's re-traumatising too, because I know what the end game was. It was ignorance through envy and jealousy of one's own offspring, which is just heinous. It defies nature. So yeah, re-traumatisation, yeah, and it took me a very long time to realise what the feeling like was of, excuse my language, I'm a bit jumbled when I speak this stuff, I'm doing my best. Understanding that I'd been so shut down that I had no real concept of people's evil and their want to take joy in ending people's happiness / existence, took me a very long time to work that out. When I did work that out, I was a little bit angry. That took me 50 years. And murder isn't always an active pursuit. Soul murder is all the offers, all the reasons that have been purposefully manufactured while not leaving a fingerprint. It's a perfect crime, basically, if you fall for it. So yeah, retraumatisation, yeah, and then being stalked by her family and her. So feeling like a fugitive to the point where I buy a house on wheels so I know I can escape if I need to. Fully understanding that this is the state I've been in my body all my life, but now I'm actually walking the walk. And buying the house on wheels and staying in one spot and offering my address to all my enemies to tell them that it's time. This is all re-traumatisation because the terror was put in me early around being chased while being sedated. I know this. They terrorised me in many ways beyond sexuality. And so once I had this sensation of being pursued again, I became a little bit mercenary. Because I'm not going to run from my enemies, I'll run towards them. Because I know what running away does, and it cost me 50 years. Yeah. And a whole lot of extracurricular work in understanding what reality is around these people, because it's a whole different reality. It's very tough to learn how to out-calm a psychopath while using the same tactics, but not in revenge, in honour, in truth, because their lies work the same way as my truth. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm just redirecting this energy back to the centre line, where it hasn't been forever. So yeah, back to isolation. When I'd finally battered these people up enough to sit with my own dysfunction, created by this situation again, because I basically sacrificed myself for my children, and because my children had been sacrificed on my watch, and part of my healing was to grow with my children, to have a child in me watch children grow happily, and that was a failure. Children don't even remember who they are or were. Come on kids, quiet. So yeah, the isolation, I've always had some deep intuition / connection. Go on. Too much. Boundaries. When I got into this isolation, I was pretty aware of the fact that I'd have to take this very slowly, this feeling thing. I was very aware of the propensity for toxic shock in my body. And in these 5 years, I've understood why. And I've done it the right way, because this information can really break you if it comes in too fast. And there's also a lot of toxins stored in the body through this, through organs and through fascia and mind and all this sort of stuff. So there's a lot of cleaning necessary, and so isolation's a good thing in ways, if it's perfunctory in the sense that there is some material that you're working on that requires quiet, that requires non-interruption, which was the initial problem in the first place, was the constant interruption of other people's information / poison / programming, grooming, in essence, is what you call it professionally. Handling children, preparing them. So yeah, this isolation's been very difficult, as I've said, but very rewarding in the sense that I've learnt to sit with myself. I've learnt to feel all these mystery aches and pains, and I've learnt to feel when these people are covenanting together against me, and I can feel the energy around me, and I slow down and I feel, because I know what they're wanting is for me to be in anxiety, depression, isolation, fear, and I'm not afraid. It irritates me, no doubt about that, because I advocate for goodness, and this is anything but. So I'm actively pursuing an ending to this, and this is part of my mission, talking here. Retraumatisation after this sort of amnesic trauma-based stuff is actually speaking out, because you're doing exactly what would have brought you the greatest peril and what shut you up in the first place. And it is a form of alchemy, because everything works in energy, and energy never disappears, and if we keep it inside ourselves as a form of punishment, self-punishment, as opposed to the punishment we'd receive on the outside for speaking it, then we become our own jailers. We're polishing the cage that was built for us, and these people, that's their greatest joy, is watching someone peter out, and they receive the benefits of other people's torture. They feed off it. They really do. That's because they can't create their own light. They've already lost it. It's gone, and it won't be coming back. These people have made their mind, well, their minds have been made up, put it that way. And he who doesn't control his mind will be controlled. And this is where we get biblical again in saying, and as I have said to them, I forgive you, for you know not what you do. But that's no excuse for justice in the 3D. Because the organism that affected these things with whatever assistance is still the organism. And someone's got to pay. And that's the funny thing about the little whispering man that offers the gifts, is that as soon as you're in the trouble, he's nowhere to be seen. And this is what these people find out about these situations, is that when the truth comes out, they're not in any way friends in love, or it's a contract of continuity and allegiance of dissimilar parts becoming similar for a short while. So re-traumatisation for them, thereby, is them facing their shadow, or me introducing them to their shadow that they know but don't believe anyone else has seen before. So I like to just say it as it is, call them what they are, experience the adrenalization of that delivery of justice, to actually viscerally feel these people wince in fear, like I have forever, that they've been seen, they've been caught, and that the time's irrelevant now, because it's just a matter of time. Just like they thought with me, that it was a matter of time. But that matter of time has passed, and now the time is their matter. and this is their retraumatisation in ownership of their own behaviours. And their isolation is now commencing. Because once seen, these people can't help but fritz. The program's broken. They talk a lot of junk to people trying to cover themselves and actually expose themselves in the process. People start getting suspicious. People that listened for a very long time, hung on the end of their tongue like it was gospel, suddenly look around and say, "You didn't say that before. You suddenly seem like you've got a little bit of a vendetta." And that the extreme port lean that you've offered everyone has no starboard. And I'll assist with that. That's my pleasure, because they taught me well. And the art of war is to quietly listen, watch and learn the game without making too much noise and acting like the subordinate, which I was, until I had the material and the escrow to blow the game up. It's interesting that after all these years of the nastiness in the face, these people would run, physically run from me, through their having seen their own shadow, not through fear of me, just through fear of me seeing them again, physically, having seen them through the ether, and told them their stories, which are jailable, all of them, on an earthly level. And in the world of spirit, they've broken spiritual law, and there's another punishment for that, because I can tell you, if they can send me things, if they can corrupt my birthdays using my birth date with magic, then imagine what happens when every day is their birthday, when they look in the mirror and realise that they're malevolent monsters. And they just got outplayed by one man who was meant to not exist by the game. The game that they all played in digging a hole for me, and I eventually said to them, "I hope that hole was big, because you've just dug it all for yourselves." Because justice prevails in the end. And karma is a very patient teacher, as I've learnt over these 50 years, in having walked around carrying the shame and karma of all these people, because I was too afraid to feel what they'd done to me, and in the amnesia, I was still a slave to them through fear, through programming, through guilt, fear, obligation, and gaslighting. So yeah, re-traumatisation is really important if you do it properly, if you know what's happening. And I said this is no different to the taking of drugs or the using of alcohol or any of this sort of stuff, because it's an attempt to find the state you're in so that you can actually be present in it to move out of it. And that would give reason to my appreciation of the medicinal qualities of psychedelics, in that I'm in a zone that is unknowable once again, with the conscience to know this time, rather than being sedated and being predated upon, and possibly hunted and terrorized, and savagely abused by men and women, I may still have some healing to do, but my discernment is pretty good. And I now understand what I always deserved and didn't deserve, and I won't settle for anything less, independent of anyone's opinion about me, because everyone can have opinions, but until we ask someone who they are, we're probably projecting our own experience onto another person. So yeah, isolation and re-traumatisation. One has to learn to be alone and listen to oneself and feel one's feelings, feel one's body, and go into those places that you really don't want to go. It's like I was told with the medicine when I first took it, look at what you don't want to see. And this has been my whole life of training in the untrainable, in the education of intuition and trust. And it's taken a long time. Being the guide over all of the logic that has seemed to fortify me in stasis. You want to protect the organism from more pain, but also more growth. That's where we need to understand that ego is built. It's an artifice. It's all artifice. Ego. It's not original. It's a trauma response, and the trauma response is to a threat. So everyone has been compromised on some level, because if personality is an act, then you're an actor. And if authenticity is beingness, then one won't really be that concerned about whether they're judged or not, because the greatest judge is within themselves. And who would you rather disappoint? And this is the nature of trauma too, is the allocentric pushing of I don't want to disappoint the people on the outside, and these people should be proud of me for my accolades, and neither is correct. Neither. Good people support you and speak love over you because they support you and they speak love over you, because it's in their nature. Something I'm yet to learn, but I do understand the concept. And my goal is to now understand this polarity between isolation and re-traumatisation again, to understand what I've missed, rather than protecting the unfelt pain and missing more. Concept of now and staying in the now, but future and past happening at the same time, because when you heal the past, you heal the future. Because healing the past brings back the hope of the void of amnesia being filled with potential again, with creativity. To be able to sink back down into your stomach and grow again. And the other thing I will say is that on finishing, on a gut biome level, this type of upset in a child changes their gut biome, changes their whole system of digestion and elimination. And the gut is where the serotonin and a lot of the good chemicals are made. And once again, we're in a situation where we're saying my head's got no serotonin, but it's coming from your body. So you might as well just say I've got no body. I am nobody. But I'm ahead. I'm always getting ahead, and I'm nobody. It's locked in the language, it's all there, you know. All the spells are no different to the actions, are no different to the responses, and yeah, it's the micro and the macro, as above so below, as within so without. There's a mechanism to all of this, and that is that an unconscious person is incapable of love, be they good or bad. And love is the cure for the planet, in us remembering each other and remembering ourselves, and recognizing connection, healthy connection and unhealthy connection at the same time. To not polarize, to be in the middle, to understand both and be able to work with both and have a choice in consciousness, instead of consuming everything that we've been offered in convenience, and also in inconvenience, that is subsumed as either status quo or in the body as a trauma that has impacted so deeply that there are no words. And it leaves a man with a great sense of gratitude for the little things, and appreciation. In a world of gratuity, honest friendship and gratitude in connection are priceless, because that is respect and love. That's appreciation. And that's the only thing that's going to assist the foundation in the rebuilding of this cluster that we all find ourselves in to some degree. And that all starts with self-love. To be able to answer those questions, those difficult questions, is self-love. It's loving yourself enough to hold your pain, and to accept that the pain that other people have offered you as part of your lesson, and to alchemize it into healing yesterday to grow tomorrow, now. I think that's a good time to finish. Big love, people. I hope you're well. Take care. Cheers.